The Arctic night was as silent as it was endless, a vast sea of ice stretching out like a frozen ocean under a dome of glittering stars. Against this silent expanse, the USS Tundra Queen roared forward, her hull groaning as she crushed through walls of ancient ice. The massive icebreaker was no ordinary ship. Her reinforced bow was a steel battering ram, built to carve pathways where none should exist. Below deck, Lieutenant Mara Ellis wiped grease from her hands, eyes sharp but tired. She leaned over the engine monitors, watching the turbine spin faster as the ice thickened. Around her, the crew moved with practiced calm, faces lit by the soft glow of control panels. The icebreaker was their home and their challenge, a floating fortress of human ingenuity and stubbornness. Far beyond the atmosphere, drifting silently in the cold vacuum of space, the Jaroon alien ship scanned the frozen planet. The Jaroon were a species built on logic and precision, their sleek, angular ships gleaming with advanced technology far beyond Earth's understanding. To their sensors, the Tundra Queen and her sister icebreakers appeared as colossal metallic monsters, lumbering through the ice with destructive force. "Analyze the vessel's output," ordered Commander Jalra, his many eyes fixed on the holographic projection of the icebreaker. The Jaroon analysts buzzed as they dissected the readings. The hull's thick plating was unmistakable, armor, clearly designed for battle. The vibrations sent through the ice were unlike any natural phenomenon. "This is no civilian operation," Jalra muttered. "They are preparing for war." A small stealth drone detached from the mothership, sleek and silent, slipping through the atmosphere toward Earth's surface. Its sensors recorded every detail, the ship's movements, the crew bustling about, the intricate machines braking, the ice with ruthless efficiency. Yet, to the Jaroon, these were not machines of industry but instruments of aggression. Back on the Tundra Queen, Captain David Reyes chuckled as he surveyed the icebreaker's progress. "At this rate, we'll have a clear channel through the Northern Sea by morning." He shook his head. "Whoever thought humans would be the ones taming the Arctic, huh?" Engineer Amira Patel grinned from the engine room. "Only humans would turn a frozen wasteland into a highway." The crew gathered for a brief break, sipping steaming mugs of coffee as outside the icebreaker's powerful lights carved through the darkness. The crunch of ice under the hull was steady and rhythmic, almost hypnotic. The humans' only battle was against nature itself. Far above, the Jaroon drone's live feed flickered through the alien ship's control room. One junior analyst squinted at the data, puzzled by the lack of any obvious weapons fire or energy blasts. But the sheer size and strength of the vessels left no doubt. "They are an unstoppable force," the analyst whispered. "A threat to our security." Jalra nodded grimly. "We cannot underestimate them." Unaware of the growing alien tension, the Tundra Queen's crew prepared for a routine icebreaking mission. Yet somewhere deep in the cosmos, the gaze of a powerful alien empire had fixed on them, and on humanity itself. Inside the cavernous command deck of the Jaroon mothership, the tension was thick enough to slice through with a blade. Holograms flickered, casting eerie shadows over the angular faces of the alien officers. Commander Jalra paced slowly in front of the central display, eyes narrowing as he replayed the footage of the massive icebreaker vessels again and again. "These so-called icebreakers," he said, voice low and hard, "are not what they seem. Their hulls are thick with armor. Their bows are designed for ramming. They carve through the planet's frozen surface like warships breaching a battlefield." The tactical analysts nodded grimly, feeding Jalra's conviction. Their instruments detected a frequency signature in the exhaust emissions that no peaceful vessel should possess, what the Jaroon identified as energy dampeners and shockwave generators. The icebreaker's repetitive pounding on the ice was interpreted as an assault tactic designed to destabilize enemy fortifications hidden beneath the frozen crust. "What's their objective?" one officer asked. "Is this the opening salvo of a planetary invasion?" Jalra's many eyes gleamed with a mixture of fear and resolve. "We must prepare for hostilities." Meanwhile, 10,000 kilometers below, the USS Tundra Queen was far from any battlefield. The crew operated with an easy camaraderie born from months of shared hardship in the Arctic cold. The only shots fired were from the espresso machine in the galley. Engineer Amira Patel crouched beside a control panel, carefully tightening a loose hydraulic valve. The ship shuddered gently as the bow crushed another thick sheet of ice, sending showers of sparkling frost into the frigid air. Around her, the sound of ice cracking and grinding was constant, a familiar symphony of their mission. "Any sign of icebergs ahead?" Captain David Reyes asked, sipping his black coffee, the steam curling like a ghost over his shoulder. "Clear for now," replied First Officer Liam O'Connell. "But the ice is thicker than last year. Winter's stubborn." On the comms console, Lieutenant Mara Ellis monitored satellite feeds, her brow furrowed. "The storm systems are shifting. We might get a whiteout soon." The crew exchanged quiet nods. Life aboard an icebreaker was equal parts science and endurance. Every day a battle against nature, not enemy fleets. Back aboard the Jaroon ship, the Alien Council convened urgently. Diplomatic advisors prepared messages demanding Earth halt, its hostile icebreaker deployment, and submit to inspections. The Jaroon military braced for a confrontation, mobilizing their ships around the solar system. But as the humans joked about expanding their icebreaking fleet, the tension in the Jaroon command grew. "Send a drone for a closer look," Jalra ordered. "We need confirmation before we engage." The stealth drone streaked through Earth's atmosphere once more, its sensors sweeping every inch of the Tundra Queen. It captured crew members sharing a meal, others running diagnostics, and a small group gathered for a game of cards under dimmed lights. No weapons were fired, no explosions, just the hum of engines and the crackle of frozen ice. The drone's artificial intelligence struggled to reconcile the data. This was either an elaborate deception or something beyond the Jaroon's experience. "Are these creatures foolish or cunning?" one analyst mused. Jalra stood still, then slowly shook his head. "We will learn soon enough." Unaware of the cosmic drama unfolding above, the icebreaker crew prepared to push deeper into the polar night. For them, it was just another mission, another challenge to overcome with grit and determination. But for the Jaroon, it was a warning signal. The threat they feared was not just steel and firepower, but a species whose true power had yet to reveal itself. The vast halls of the United Nations Office for Extraterrestrial Affairs buzzed with confused urgency as the message from the Jaroon arrived. An alien transmission, crackling and formal, demanded Earth's immediate disarmament of its hostile icebreaker fleet or face irreversible consequences. The wording was as confusing as it was alarming. Dr. Helena Morozov, head of the UN's Extraterrestrial Relations Task Force, stared at the glowing screen. "They think our icebreakers are warships," she muttered, incredulous. "Icebreakers. Ships that break ice." A young intern at her side, wide-eyed and trembling, leaned in closer. "Are they serious? Maybe it's a prank." "Believe me," Helena said dryly. "If it's a prank, it's the best one we've ever received." Meanwhile, on the USS Tundra Queen, Captain David Reyes was blissfully unaware of the galactic panic he had unintentionally caused. The crew was gathered in the mess hall sharing a meal after a grueling shift, breaking through some of the thickest Arctic ice in decades. Liam O'Connell, the first officer, raised his mug in a toast. "To the fiercest warships on the planet." Amira Patel laughed, shaking her head. "Yeah, if breaking ice is war, then we're generals." Suddenly, the comms crackled, and a message came through the usual channels. It was from the UN, a request for the Tundra Queen to respond to an urgent diplomatic communication. Captain Reyes exchanged a look with Mara Ellis. "All right, team, time to get serious for once." Back at the UN, the task force scrambled to draft a reply. The Jaroon message was filled with phrases like hostile intent and disarm your fleet, but no one quite understood how to explain that icebreakers were not war machines. The proposal? A video explaining icebreaker operations and a formal invitation for the aliens to visit Earth's Arctic region aboard a research icebreaker. The reply was sent. Weeks passed. On board the Finnish icebreaker, Aurora Frost, the chosen vessel for alien visitors, preparations were underway. Scientists, engineers, and diplomats practiced their explanations. Crew members polished decks, rehearsed cultural greetings, and stocked the galley with every hot beverage imaginable. When the Jeroen delegation finally arrived, expectations were high, but entirely misplaced, clad in sleek silver suits that shimmered under the Arctic sun. The aliens stepped onto the icebreaker's deck, scanning the human crew for signs of military discipline or aggression. Instead, they found laughter, stories, and cups of steaming coffee passed with genuine warmth. Ambassador Jalra, the alien commander, looked baffled. "Where are your weapons?" Captain Lena Saarinen smiled, holding out a pair of heavy work gloves. "These are our tools. Our weapons are determination and teamwork." One alien officer tilted his head, eyes wide as a technician demonstrated how the icebreaker's reinforced bow crushed through ice layers thicker than their entire hull. The Jeroen scientists took readings, unable to deny the sheer physical power on display, but still confused by the lack of any energy weapons or tactical formations. During dinner, the humans shared tales of polar storms, frozen seas, and the constant battle against the Arctic's unforgiving environment. The Jeroen delegation exchanged whispers, slowly beginning to grasp that the threat they feared was something altogether different. As the stars wheeled overhead, both species realized that their first contact had been built on misunderstanding, and that this was only the beginning. The icy wind bit sharp against the hull of the Aurora Frost, but inside, warmth and curiosity filled the air. The Jeroen delegation, still cloaked in their shimmering suits, gathered on the ship's bridge, watching the endless white landscape unfold through panoramic windows. Their eyes, so different from human eyes, tracked every movement, every detail of this strange world they had misjudged. Captain Lena Saarinen stood beside Ambassador Jalra, explaining the delicate balance between the icebreaker's engines and the shifting frozen sea. "Every inch of this ship is designed to withstand nature's toughest challenges. We don't conquer the ice, we negotiate with it." Jalra's gaze flickered over the ship's reinforced bow, which glistened with scratches and dents from years of smashing through glaciers. "Your weapon, then, is persistence," Lena smiled. "And teamwork. You can have the strongest ship, but without people who believe in it, it's nothing." The aliens exchanged glances, intrigued but cautious. They had expected confrontation, not cooperation. As the Aurora Frost rumbled forward, the humans invited their guests down to the engine room, a labyrinth of pipes, valves, and roaring turbines. The Jeroen technicians poked and prodded, amazed by the simplicity and effectiveness of diesel engines compared to their own energy systems. Engineer Mikael Virtanen, wiping soot from his hands, chuckled. "We keep these machines running with parts from half a dozen countries and a little bit of stubbornness." A Jeroen scientist tilted his head. "Your technology is an archaic, yet it accomplishes the impossible. That's the human way," Mikael replied. "Adapt and improvise. Sometimes the old stuff works best." Later, the delegation stood on the observation deck as the ship approached a massive pressure ridge, a towering wall of ice several meters high. The Aurora Frost slowed, engines humming with effort before charging forward. The bow smashed into the ice, sending showers of frost and shards into the air. The ship groaned but pressed on, carving a path through the frozen wilderness. Jalra's eyes widened. No energy shields, no plasma cannons, just sheer force. Lena nodded. Sometimes brute strength, guided by skill, is all you need. The icebreaker's crew worked in harmony, issuing orders, adjusting power, and monitoring instruments. The Jeroen delegation observed quietly, beginning to see the deeper meaning behind the humans' approach. That evening, the guests were invited to join a communal meal in the mess hall. The room buzzed with laughter and stories, as humans shared legends of polar explorers who had braved impossible odds to survive and thrive in the Arctic. Ambassador Jalra, once reserved and distant, found himself drawn into conversations. The aliens realized these humans were bound not just by technology, but by a shared spirit, a refusal to surrender in the face of adversity. "We feared war machines," Jalra admitted quietly to Lena. But what we see instead is resilience and unity. Lena smiled. The Arctic isn't won by weapons. It's won by people who refuse to give up. As the stars emerged in the cold night sky, the Aurora Frost sailed on through the ice, carrying two species on the cusp of understanding. The Jeroen, delegation's suspicion began to thaw, replaced by curiosity and respect. What had started as a case of mistaken threat was becoming something far more profound. The beginning of an alliance forged not in battle, but in trust. The frozen Arctic night was alive with tension as the Aurora Frost pushed deeper into a treacherous field of fractured ice. The wind howled like a wild beast, whipping up sharp flurries that danced in the floodlights cutting through the darkness. The ship's hull groaned under the strain, every vibration a reminder of the frozen battlefield ahead. On the bridge, Captain Lena Sarinen's gaze was steady, but intense. Approaching the pressure ridge. "Prepare for impact," she ordered. The crew snapped into action, muscles taut, voices calm but urgent. Ambassador Jalra stood beside her, silent and watchful. The aliens had witnessed the sheer physical force of the icebreakers, but this was something new. The unpredictability of human determination in real time. Below deck, engineer Mikael Virtanen barked orders to his team as sensors detected shifting, ice and mounting pressure. "Reinforce the bow hydraulics. Keep the engines running at peak torque." In the engine room, the roar of turbines was deafening. Sparks flew from a worn contactor, and Mikael dove to replace it, hands steady despite the cold sweat on his brow. "If this fails, we're stuck," he muttered. Suddenly, the ship lurched violently as it collided with the ridge. Ice shattered, sending a thunderous crash reverberating through the hull. The lights flickered and alarms blared briefly before stabilizing. On the bridge, Lena's fingers flew over the controls. "Damage report." Lieutenant Mara Ellis responded quickly. "Minor hull flexing near the bow. No breaches. Hydraulic pressure holding." Jalra's multifaceted eyes gleamed with a newfound respect. "They endure what would break many warships." The crew coordinated seamlessly, adjusting the ship's angle and power to ride the shifting ice. Every move was a calculated risk, a dance between destruction and survival. "Push forward," Lena commanded, voice calm but firm. The icebreaker surged ahead, bow smashing into the ridge again and again. Slowly, painfully, the path opened. The creaking ice groaned in protest, but the ship's determination was stronger. Outside, the Jeroen delegation watched in awe. Their own ships used energy shields and force fields to deflect obstacles, technology designed to avoid direct contact. Here, humans embraced the struggle, harnessing raw physical power backed by skill and teamwork. "This is not war," Jalra admitted quietly to his officers. "This is survival." As the Aurora Frost broke through the final barrier, a roar of relief swept through the crew. Sweat-streaked faces broke into smiles, laughter bubbling up despite the cold and fatigue. Lena exhaled deeply, eyes sparkling. "We don't conquer ice. We earn passage." Later, in the warmth of the mess hall, humans and aliens shared stories of challenge and perseverance. The Jeroen asked questions: how the icebreaker crews trained, how they made split-second decisions, how they kept morale high in the coldest places on Earth. Mikael leaned forward, his hands still marked with grease. "It's not just the ship or the tech, it's us. We trust each other to be ready to cover every weakness." Jalra nodded slowly. "Your strength is not in your weapons or machines. It is in your unity and will." Outside, the Arctic sky shimmered with a ghostly aurora, painting ribbons of green and purple over the endless ice. The icebreaker pushed on, a symbol of human grit and spirit against a frozen frontier. For the first time, the Jeroen saw not a threat, but a kindred determination, a power forged in hardship and hope. And as the Aurora Frost sailed forward, breaking through barriers both physical and mental, two worlds edged closer to understanding. A bitter blizzard swept across the Arctic, swallowing the Aurora Frost in a whiteout so thick it erased the horizon. Inside the icebreaker, the crews, Focus sharpened as the storm battered the ship with howling winds and driving snow. The ship groaned under nature's relentless assault, its reinforced hull strained to the limit. On the bridge, Lieutenant Mara Ellis studied the navigation console, her eyes flickering over erratic signals. "Captain, we've lost GPS lock. The storm's interference is too strong. Our inertial navigation is compromised." Captain Lena Sarinen's jaw tightened. "Any way to recalibrate?" "Not with current conditions. The sensors are unreliable." The Jeroen delegation, the alien engineers exchanged concerned glances. Their own advanced tech was faltering in this extreme environment, and the humans faced the same unforgiving challenge, but without their high-powered energy shields or advanced navigation arrays. Ambassador Jalra leaned toward Lena. "May we offer assistance? Our technology is designed to function in harsher environments." Lena hesitated. "We appreciate the offer, but we rely on more than just machines. Sometimes experience and instinct guide us better." The Jeroen officers raised their brows. Curiosity piqued. Down in the engine room, engineer Mikael Virtanen pored over analog charts and manual controls, bypassing faulty digital systems. "Sometimes you have to trust your gut," he muttered, twisting knobs and adjusting valves with practiced hands. On the bridge, Mara switched to manual navigation, plotting the ship's course by dead reckoning and compass bearings. Outside, the storm raged, a swirling vortex of ice and wind. "We can do this," Lena said quietly. "We've faced worse." Hours passed in tense silence, broken only by the ship's steady rumble and the crackle of static on the radio. The crew worked in harmony, combining technology, skill, and intuition. Suddenly, a faint glow appeared through the blizzard. A faint outline of the distant ice ridge they had planned to reach. "Visual contact," Mara announced, relief flooding her voice. The Aurora Frost pressed forward, navigating the narrow channel with precision honed from years of experience. The storm's fury clung to the ship, but the crew refused to yield. When at last the blizzard broke, the sky cleared to reveal the shimmering Aurora Borealis stretching overhead like a celestial bridge. The Jeroen delegation stared in awe, their usually reserved faces softened by wonder. Ambassador Jalra turned to Lena. "Your reliance on human judgment over machines. It is remarkable. We are accustomed to perfection from technology, but you embrace imperfection and uncertainty." Lena smiled. "Machines can fail. People don't always. We adapt. We survive." Later, gathered in the warmth of the mess hall, humans and aliens shared stories of past crises, of storms weathered and systems that faltered. Mikael raised his mug. "No tech can replace experience and trust. When machines fail, it's the crew that keeps the ship alive." The Jeroen nodded in agreement, their respect for humanity growing with every shared moment. Outside, the icebreaker rested beneath the glowing sky, a beacon of resilience and hope in the frozen wilderness. For the Jeroen, the experience was transformative. They began to see Earth not as a planet of primitive technology, but as a world of unpredictable spirit and resolve. And for the humans, the storm was another challenge met head-on, a reminder that sometimes the greatest strength lies not in the tools we build, but in the people who wield them. The Aurora Frost was anchored near the edge of the polar ice cap, its hull a dark silhouette against the glittering expanse of frozen white. The Jeroen delegation gathered once more, their expressions more thoughtful now, less guarded. Days spent alongside humans had shifted their understanding, peeling away layers of suspicion to reveal something unexpected. Admiration. Ambassador Jalra stood beside Captain Lena Sarinen on the observation deck, watching the sun's faint glow push the horizon. "Your people possess a strength beyond your technology," he said quietly. "There is a force here we did not anticipate." Lena nodded, eyes tracing the distant ice. "It's not just what we build or how we fight. It's who we are. The choices we make when everything is against us." The aliens had observed countless species, many relying solely on superior firepower or advanced technology to dominate. But humans Humans relied on ingenuity, resilience, and a stubborn refusal to yield. Your icebreakers are symbols of that spirit, Lena continued. Machines shaped by experience, driven by people who never give up. In the ship's common area, the humans shared stories of explorers who had survived Arctic nights that seemed endless, of communities bound together by hardship, and of innovations born from necessity. The Jeroen listened, absorbing these tales. With growing respect, one of the alien scientists, Dr. Velric, posed a question. How do you maintain hope in such harsh conditions? What fuels this perseverance? Mara Ellis, who had become a bridge between the two worlds, smiled. Hope comes from knowing you're not alone, from the belief that your efforts matter, that every broken ice sheet you cross opens a path for others. Jalra considered this. On Jeroen, strength is measured in power and control, but here, it seems strength is measured in endurance and heart. Lena's gaze grew distant. That's the unseen power of humanity. Suddenly, the ship's sensors detected a distant seismic tremor beneath the ice, a reminder that the frozen world was alive, unpredictable, and sometimes dangerous. The Aurora Frost's crew moved swiftly, their drills and protocols kicking in without hesitation. The aliens watched as humans coordinated with practiced efficiency, each member playing a vital role. In the tense moments that followed, the Jeroen realized that human strength was not just in physical endurance or technology, but in the trust forged between individuals, the unspoken bond that held them together. As the tremor subsided, Ambassador Jalra turned to Lena. Your people's true weapon is their unity. That is something we must learn. Lena smiled warmly. And you are welcome to learn it with us. The stars glittered overhead, silent witnesses to an alliance blossoming in the cold. Two species, once divided by fear and misunderstanding, were now united by a shared respect and a common future. The Aurora Frost sailed onward, breaking ice and breaking barriers, carrying with it the promise of something greater: hope, partnership, and the unseen power that only humanity seemed to possess. The sun rose low over the Arctic horizon, casting long golden beams across the fractured ice. The Aurora Frost hummed steadily, its engines pushing forward through a freshly cleared channel. On board, a sense of quiet accomplishment filled the air, a mission transformed from suspicion to solidarity. Captain Lena Saarinen stood on the bridge, her eyes scanning the endless white ahead. Beside her, Ambassador Jalra watched with a newfound respect. The tension that once shadowed their interactions had melted away, replaced by mutual understanding. The ice is still dangerous, Lena said, but we face it together now. Jalra nodded, his many eyes reflecting the soft Arctic light. Your people have shown us something invaluable: resilience, cooperation, and courage. We came fearing weapons, and instead found allies. The two species had forged a bond through shared trials and discoveries. The Jeroen began to see humanity not as a primitive race, but as a partner capable of overcoming the harshest challenges with heart and will. As the Aurora Frost approached its final destination, a research station nestled at the edge of a vast, glacial plain, the crew prepared to welcome scientists from both Earth and Jeroen for a joint mission. In the mess hall, laughter and conversation flowed freely. Humans and aliens exchanged stories, cultural insights, and even jokes. Language barriers blurred as common curiosity and respect bridged the gap. Mikael Virtanen raised his cup in a toast. To new friends and new frontiers. The room echoed, with agreement. Later, Lena and Jalra met privately in the ship's observation lounge, a place where glass walls framed the swirling Arctic skies. We've learned much, Jalra said softly, not just about your icebreakers, but about the strength of your spirit. Lena smiled. And we've learned that first impressions can be wrong, and costly. Jalra's tone grew serious. Had we attacked, Earth would have lost more. Than ships, we might have lost a chance at peace. We were lucky, Lena said. Lucky to have the patience to understand. Beyond the ice, the universe awaited, a vast expanse full of unknowns. But now, Earth was not alone. Two species, once separated by fear and misjudgment, stood united, ready to face whatever came next. As the Aurora Frost sailed forward, carving a path through the frozen sea, it carried with it more than metal and machinery. It carried hope, a beacon of what humanity could achieve when it chose resilience over fear, unity over division. The aliens had come expecting warships, but what they found was something far more powerful. A species willing to break the ice between worlds and build bridges instead. And in that breakthrough lay the future, one forged not in conflict but in understanding.